All right, this is the next episode of True Wrestling Fans Discussions, continuing our SummerSlam retro series. We're going into SummerSlam 1995. I'm your host, Mike.
And I'm Frank, and let's do this without needing a cup of coffee for this one.
Seriously.
It's nothing against the superstars themselves that were on the card. They did their best. This was the extreme, not youth movement, but definitely the new generation was now starting to take its course in the WWE. It was really a bunch of guys you never really heard of or never were on a pay-per-view prior. They putting them on this card, especially late. The first two matches were added late. They tried to make it look like Gorilla Monsoon, who is now the interim president of WWE, as Jack Tunney stepped down. Thank God. They were trying to make it look like he was trying to save the day. And I mean, kudos to him for putting these guys on there. There was some talent there. They were just overlooked and then eventually dismissed. And it was nothing on them. It's just a lot of these matches were just the buildup was garbage, and some of these wrestlers did the best that they could.
Yeah, it's just bad booking. That's all.
Seriously. August 27th, 1995, live from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 18,062 on hand to see this. Opening match for the night was the 1-2-3 Kid against Hakushi. Now, this match I actually did like because it showed you the aerial and martial arts moves of both of these superstars. And Hakushi was an extremely talented wrestler that was never given an opportunity. His claim to fame in '95 was a brief stint against Bret Hart, and I don't think Bret was fond of him. Nothing concrete ever came out of his mouth. I think after he had his feud with Bret, I think it was one foot out the door for him, unfortunately.
Mm.
There was a lot of good aerial moves in this. Hakushi beat the 1-2-3 Kid 9 minutes 27 seconds in. He was sort of the fan favorite in this, but still the heel because he was in a kind of a feud with Skip of the Body Donnas. So later on, that kind of cemented his fan favorite turn, which wasn't much. But again, a lot of good aerial moves in this match. Some stuff you wouldn't normally see. The ending could have been a little better finisher wise. But good for Hakushi.
Yeah, just come off a loss to Barry Horowitz.
I think Hakushi, that's because of Skip.
Yeah.
Which again, one of their big time jobbers, and they gave a chance to, which the fans got on board with it for like a second, and then once SummerSlam was over, it's pretty much over.
I was rooting for him. So,
did you really think he was going to be Intercontinental Champion?
Barry Horowitz?
Yeah.
No, but I was still rooting for the guy.
I will in his match later on that night. I was.
Yeah.
Because again, a lifelong jobber, he put his dues in tremendously, and WWE was like, you know what? Let's do this storyline where the jobber actually becomes the hero.
It was a good storyline. I enjoyed it.
Just unfortunately, they never did anything with the period. I think Survivor Series was pretty much it for him, or Royal Rumble. I don't know. Our next match had one of your favorites in it.
Oh no!
It was Bob Sparkplug Holly versus Hunter Hearst Helmsley. I was about to say Triple H, but I can't say that yet.
This is the Greenwich.
The Blue Blood.
The Blue Blood.
This was his. He had just shown up not too long prior to this from being Terror Rising or Jean-Paul Levesque because they couldn't figure out anything to do with him. I liked the match because again, it was pay-per-view. It was a young up and coming two guys that are trying to get into the business. This is before Triple H was burying people, but don't act like he was the first one. Will be the last. So, 7 minutes, 10-second match. Helmsley beats Holly as if there was any doubt that he would. I mean, Holly didn't start getting into his own until the steroids kicked in with him. But, I mean, you got to give it to Bob Holly, though. That's the one guy back then I didn't think would last 14 years in the WWE. And up until he was there until 2009. So, I mean, I didn't expect it, especially seeing him as Sparky Plug in the beginning. I'm like, this is a guy that's going to go bye-bye soon.
That was during the gimmick of a race car driver, a sanitation worker, a farmer. Like, it was just bad. It's bad.
A clown. Don't forget, he's still there.
It's bad.
Yeah, like I said, nothing against them. It was just bad booking and bad ideas gimmick-wise. So from there, we go to the Smoking Guns versus the most re-gimmicked guys on the block, the Blue Brothers, or the Harris Brothers, or DOA, or the Undertaker is one of them, whatever you want to call them. These guys were just constantly re-gimmicked. Managed by Uncle Zebekiah, or Zeb Coulter to the people that are familiar later on with Jack Swagger. This wasn't a bad match because, I mean, unfortunately, these are the top 2 tag teams you have because literally they are the only 2 tag teams you really have by this point. And I was sort of wondering why the tag team titles weren't defended at this pay-per-view. I was really curious on that. No mention of them at all during the night.
Who were the tag champions?
Owen and Yoko.
Yoko was probably like, I don't know.
Indigestion? I don't know. Because I think this was, what was it? The next month, in September, they did the 2 chaps for 4 straps match.
Yeah.
So, yeah, putting Owen on the card, even if it wasn't a tag team match, might have elevated this a little more. Because again, you got another athletic, charismatic wrestler, technical wrestler on the card. I don't know what the deal was there. Smoking Guns, 6 minutes, 9 seconds. They beat the Blue Brothers as if there was any doubt. Smoking Guns were one of the hottest tag teams for the 3 years that they were together. And I was really surprised that Vince McMahon stayed with them because at first, when they first came in, he wasn't too fond of them, but it kind of grew on them. And then he turns them heel and eventually he breaks them up. But they were a good tag team. The Blue Brothers, I mean, you got what you got with them. And again, no tag team division by this point in WWE. It was just completely shot. Our next match was your favorite. It was Barry Horowitz, or how many people say Horriblewitz, versus Skip, a guy that was re-gimmicked from ECW that I wish they would just named Chris Candido. But Vince has to put his moniker on everybody. And of course, you had Sonny down at ringside. Lovely as always. Not now, anyway. And this was actually the longest match that we've mentioned right now. This was 11 minutes, 21 seconds. And Horowitz gets the victory thanks to Hakushi. And I like how they did this because Hakushi never touched anybody.
No, he just flew.
He jumps right over the both of them, which was awesome. Yeah. Again, this guy had some good aerial moves. And I really wish they would have pushed him because I did like him when he came in. And he just jumps over him. The fans are going nuts. Horowitz rolls up Skip, gets the 1, 2, 3. And I believe this was the match that granted him a WWE contract. So, because he had beaten Skip on Monday Night Raw, or Superstars rather, then he beat Hakushi. And this was the opportunity given that if he could do it one more time, he was a WWE wrestler. And unfortunately, this was his only claim to fame. This isn't a Virgil moment. This is a pretty much one and done because even by Survivor Series, everybody was like, he's still here. So, yeah, it was his 15 seconds. Good for him because a lifelong jobber finally gets his payday and on a pay-per-view.
I was rooting for him, like I said. I was rooting for him.
I think everybody was. I didn't really like the Skip gimmick, to be honest. I wanted Chris Candido, but we get what we get in 1995. Our next match was one that even back then live, I fell asleep on it. For the WWE Women's Championship, Alundra Blaze versus Bertha Faye, another Harvey Whippleman reject. 4 minutes, 14 seconds. And this felt like an Iron Man match. It really did. Come on. I mean, it just 4 minutes felt like a lifetime watching this. I think
they changed the belt pink, right? I think they made the strap pink, I think. I didn't like the pink strap. I'm look better.
Bertha Faye tries to put it on, you can't even see it.
Yeah.
Because she's got so many colors in her outfit. It's just like
she looked like shit.
She couldn't even wrestle. I mean, come on.
She looked like somebody's grandmother. Like, just like
yes, she looked like she was 60, 70 years old.
Right, like she shouldn't have been. Trailer
park
Alundra Blaze was in
Tacoma or Biloxi, Mississippi, wherever she's from.
Alundra Blaze, Medusa, whatever you want to call her, she was in shape, man. She looked like a wrestler.
No, I gotta agree. No wonder why she didn't want to be there anymore because there literally was no women's division. They hired these people randomly, and then once Alundra beat them, they got rid of them.
Pretty much.
And the whole business of Bertha Faye winning the title for just chick couldn't wrestle. There was her timing was off. She almost hurt Alundra Blaze on several occasions.
Yeah.
She wouldn't sell the moves either. She didn't know what she was doing.
This was terrible, man. And nobody cared.
The fact that you put the belt on her made it even worse.
It's garbage. It's
It
garbage.
was. So anyway, Bertha Faye's the champion. Alondra does win it back one more time because everybody knows her famous, Monday Nitro where she dumps it into the trash can, which I didn't agree with. But hey, if you're Eric Bischoff, you're going to do whatever you want for ratings. Sounds like something Tony Khan would do here soon. Our next match was very interesting. I like this. Two friends going at it in real life. It was a casket match. The Undertaker versus Kama Mustafa. Or Papa Shango, or Godfather, whatever this guy did, with the exception of the Papa Shango gimmick, it worked. He was a brawler, he was a wrestler, he was good. And what's funny is the Kama actually, if you remember, on the independent scene, he had this gimmick first. I think he was called the Soul Taker when they first were coming up, and Mark Callis, whatever you want to call him, was just coming into for the business. And so I thought that was cool. These two worked very well together. Undertaker still feuding with the $1 Million Corporation. By this point now, the urn has been melted down into the gold chain that Kama had, which I thought was cool.
Man, he was never the same after that.
Taker? No.
Yeah, no, he was never the same after he melted down the urn.
Well, it gets worse after that. Next SummerSlam, when we get to the 96 in a minute, just no love for the Undertaker here. 16 minutes, 26 seconds. This match was pretty lengthy, but it was good. The Undertaker beats Kama in the casket match, which Undertaker is famous for in this match.
Remember what happened with the Creatures of the Night leading up to this? Like, they were giving him power, and then they had the black reef, and then Kama beat up one of the Creatures of the Night.
And you see the girl is like, oh. Yeah. I thought the Creatures of the Night gimmick was cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
Every weekend on Superstars, they're sitting there at ringside, and they put the wreath out, and then this time Kama destroys it, and the one guy goes into the ring, collects it, and that's when Kama beat him down. And I thought it was anything they did as far as with the Dark Side gimmick, for the most part, worked. And this worked with the whole urn story being melted down. So I did like this match, and this was, I believe, the ending to the feud with the $1 Million Corporation, because by this point, Taker's gone through all of them. He retired King Kong Bundy. He took out IRS. He took out Tatanka. So Kama was the one next. So I mean, by this point, his feud with them had pretty much gone, with the exception of Survivor Series and Royal Rumble. It almost went about a year from the last SummerSlam. So our next match after this was Bret Hart versus Kane. No, I'm just kidding. It was Isaac Yankem. But you can put in your mind to make this match look good, it was Kane. Just tell yourself it was the Big Red Machine. You might get through it. This was a ridiculous match for Bret to be in. We've talked about this tremendously on they wasted him through 1995. I believe they wasted The Undertaker too. I've said that before, just to keep Diesel on top. If Diesel would have fought these guys during his reign, I think his reign would have been a little better than it was. But leaving that aside, Bret Hart is in his second feud with Jerry the King Lawler. This is stemming from the Kiss My Foot match at King of the Ring, where not only did he have to kiss Bret's foot, but then he had to kiss the nasty, raunchy thing that Lawler was growing. So hence bring in the gimmick of the dentist.
Apparently Vince had this gimmick for years, and he was just trying to look for somebody to give the gimmick to. I don't know. He's like, a dentist, because nobody likes going to the dentist.
Nobody likes getting their trash picked up either. So let's get Duke the Dumpster Josie. What is this?
So they gave him that gimmick, and it was terrible, which is unfortunate because obviously Kane's a good wrestler.
At least he didn't get fired once the gimmick didn't work, and then he just became the fake Diesel, which I have said this. He pulled it off. I mean, no, he's not Kevin Nash. I mean, the other guy playing Razor was just complete trash. I mean, it was. You got to agree. You said it.
Yeah, but he wasn't any better. I mean, it's just that he could wrestle. He could wrestle.
He looked good. He had the upper body. He looked good in the outfit. I'm not saying put the WWE title on the guy and call him Diesel for years. I just think if they were going to do this, at least he looked okay doing it. That's all. Yeah. I'm not saying, he's superstar of the year.
It's trash.
I mean, he was until they came up with Kane. I mean, with the Diesel thing not working, if they don't come up with the Kane idea, Glenn Jacobs is gone.
Yeah.
He's out of a job, unfortunately. And they came up with the best idea in 1997 with him. And for 23 years leading up to this year, he was the best at it. Granted, he stuck around 5 more years than he should have. And he was a little overweight at the end, but it was a badass gimmick. I'm just saying I like the way he looked as him. Am I saying he should have stayed as Diesel? No. The fact that Jim Ross even went with that they allowed this gimmick to go through as with Razor and Diesel. I mean, hell, it got Scott Hall and Kevin Nash extra money from Bischoff because he's like, "Oh, you guys are leaving? Sign new contracts here." And they're like, "Okay, we know we're not leaving, idiot." I just thought it was good. Don't mock me there. I like Adam Bomb too. What for months now you've been writing me about that.
Yeah. So
somebody's got to like these guys. You got to. I'm guaranteed there's a Jeff Jarrett fan out there somewhere, and not himself. Everybody's got a fan, dude. Anyway, Bret wins by disqualification. Again, crap match for him.
Jerry Lawler interferes. He was doing commentary, and then he interferes in the match. And man, Bret, that didn't look too comfortable when he was between the ropes like that.
No, I thought he got hurt when they did that.
That actually looked very, very uncomfortable, very painful.
Yeah, it did.
So,
and again, they could have did so much more with him this year that could have elevated him. And who knows if this is one of the reasons why he wanted not to be in wrestling through 1996 when he was a free agent. I mean, there's so many things that could have gone with that. I would have agreed. I would have believed that his run in 1995 for the most part was part of it, because they did nothing with him. They handed him everything that nobody else wanted. I mean, it's a shame for a guy of his caliber. It really is. And nothing against Isaac Yankem or Glenn Jacobs. The match didn't make sense. And re-gimmicking this storyline with Lawler after the first time nobody enjoyed it didn't make any sense either.
Crap.
Anything that involves Lawler is crap. Sorry. I love him as a commentator.
Other than commentary, yeah.
He's one of the best in my books. Third to Heenan and Ventura and all them guys. I mean, he's one of the best with JR for years, but as far as wrestling and gimmicks, no. Absolutely not. Our next match was not as good as the first, but just as good. For the Intercontinental Championship, it was a ladder match, with Shawn Michaels defending the Intercontinental title against Razor Ramon.
Now, this time, babyface versus babyface this time.
Exactly. And for the people that did not know, the original Intercontinental title match for this event was supposed to be Shawn Michaels versus Psycho Sid. But for whatever reason, and it wasn't Gorilla Monsoon, it was Vince McMahon. I don't know if it was to get more of a buy rate on the pay-per-view or to sell out the event if they thought they didn't already sell out, that they put on a bigger attraction with adding Razor to the match. And I know Razor didn't have a storyline at this point, not until after this match, because we failed to mention who was the analyst during this whole thing, giving his grades and whatnot. Dean Douglas.
Yeah, they kept having those promos throughout the show,
and his vivification and all that garbage. Look, another guy that Vince had to put his moniker on. I wish he would have just came in as Shane Douglas. We would have been fine.
He ruined him with a bad gimmick.
And the fact that he put the Intercontinental title on him later on was on a forfeit was ridiculous. But whatever. I'm not getting into that right now. When we do the In Your House reviews, we'll get more into it. But yeah, Dean Douglas is doing his analytic garbage during this. And now I know Razor didn't have a storyline rivalry with anybody because Jeff Jarrett was gone by this point, and he wasn't working with anybody. So putting him in the ladder match, and again, they didn't do triple threat matches back then, so it's not like they could have did a triple threat ladder match, which would have been interesting. So they snubbed Psycho Sid to put Razor into the match.
He was watching backstage.
Yeah, you notice they put the camera on him.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt for him because, they advertised the match and then they just bump it for something else. I mean, I don't know. This match was pretty good. Again, not as great as the first one. You're never going to duplicate the original. It was just as good. This time they didn't, Shawn didn't wrestle a ladder, as they said for WrestleMania 10. I think they put on a clinic in there. 25 minutes, 4 seconds. Shawn Michaels defeats Razor Ramon to keep the Intercontinental Championship. So now they're tied up at 1-1. I really wish they would have gone for the best of 3 at some point. Not saying a ladder match, maybe just a one-on-one match between the two to kind of settle the score. Because we're 1-1 now between the two of them.
The match was good. That was fine. They weren't allowed. Unfortunately, they weren't allowed to use the ladder really as a weapon
as much as they did the first time.
Because Vince was getting a lot of complaints about violence or something from like the network and I guess sponsors and stuff like that. So they had to get very creative, like where it would accidentally hit you and. So, but it was fine. I thought it was.
So it was a wrestling match involving the ladder for the. Now, did you see in the beginning, Shawn Michaels got agitated because when they put the belt on the ring, it went on wrong. So he tells them to bring it back down.
He knew it was too high. He knew it was
too high, and it was also on. They put it on an angle where you couldn't take it off.
And later on, he can't get it. Later on, he can't get it off.
Yeah,
he jumps.
He at one point, you remember, when they bring it down, he fixes it and tells them, agitated, tells them, throw it back up now. But yeah, he couldn't get it at some point because it's too high, and then they had to lower it.
He jumped. The thing is, he jumps to try to bring it, and he just falls down. And then he goes back up, and he can't get it. He tries to rip it off, and he can't get it. And then he gets frustrated. Like, doesn't he slam the ladder down? He gets frustrated. He eventually goes up there, and he's able to get it off. That's the thing about Shawn. And like when he would get frustrated, you would see, like he wouldn't hide it. Like you would visibly see when he would get upset. And Razor,
you saw a lot of that in '96 and '97.
Oh yeah, it gets worse. But Razor should have went underneath the ladder like the first time. Remember the first time? Because I gave him good luck and he won. Remember they were like, "Oh, you shouldn't do that. It's bad luck." But this time he goes around it and then he loses. So you should have just went underneath it and maybe he would have won.
And you notice this time it was Shawn Michaels that did something with a ladder because he turned it around, goes up, and points at him. So now it's his turn to do something with the ladder.
That was cool. I like that.
They like I said,
then they had the two ladders. Remember they had both ladders. He got the other ladder and he super kicks him. From the ladder.
Best friends aside, they had good chemistry in the ring, and everybody wants to say, "Oh, well, it's just another click match." You can call it what you want, but if these guys are delivering in the ring together, then you can't really say much.
You know what I didn't understand about this match? He Razor's edge Shawn and knocks himself out. I'm like, remember that spot? He Razor's edges him, and then he's just lying. I'm like, what happened?
What the hell did you do to yourself?
Like, I don't know, but I enjoyed the match. Those guys never put on a bad performance.
No, and unfortunately, we never got to see it again with his exit later on. Who's to say they couldn't have put on a great match in '96 during his run this time for the WWE title?
Yeah.
I always thought about that. If Scott Hall and Kevin Nash stayed, what kind of matches could we have seen going into the summer? I mean, it would have been great.
Yeah.
And we always said Razor should have been pushed for the belt and never really was. So, but he just didn't meet. We didn't put him on the Young Crown because there was just too many variables with him. And now we go to our main event.
But we got to talk about what happened after the match. So Dean Douglas is backstage.
Yeah. I forgot. I forgot about that.
And then they start having words. And the funny thing is, Dean Douglas goes to sucker punch Razor,
and Razor decked him.
And Razor decks him, and then knocks him on his ass.
He really hit him.
Yeah, and then he's looking at him like talking shit to him, and I'm like, this is the story of Dean Douglas's career.
Yeah, pretty much it's summed up right there.
Right, it's summed up right there because they're setting him up for this feud. You're supposed to get a push, but then you get your ass handed to you.
But he was handed the Intercontinental title.
But wouldn't it have made more sense for him to get the drop on Razor and get some heat on himself?
Not necessarily on the same night, because Razor's already lost now. Doing this now, Dean doing this is just.
It doesn't matter what night it is. I'm saying I'm just saying if you're gonna do that spot in that place at SummerSlam, you have to have Dean get the drop on him and set up their feud, and now he has heat on him. Instead,
I think the next night
even if it was the next night. My point is, if you're gonna do that segment anywhere, why would you get? He's not a threat. He just got his ass handed to him.
But wouldn't you agree that it would be insult to injury if Razor not only loses the match but now tries to get the drop on Dean and Dean does it on him? I mean, wouldn't that be like insult to injury in the same night?
I guess, but my point is like
No, I understand what you're saying.
If you're trying to build heat on a heel.
Yeah. Monday Night Raw the next night.
Right. They should have done it. He could have came out
Razor
and
comes
said,
out and says you're talking smack, and then Dean comes and jumps him.
That would have been fine.
Would have been good. Yeah.
Instead, he got his ass whipped, and then
gets handed the title, and then 5 minutes later and then loses it.
That's the story.
I don't think Vince ever had any high hopes for signing him. Quite honestly, I don't even know why he signed him. So now we go on to our main event, which I really thought we were watching the main event. At least I was hoping we were watching the main event. And this is the reason why King of the Ring winners didn't get any more title shots until 2002, which always it pondered in my mind why all of a sudden it is that 7 years later somebody's getting it, but all those guys in between got squat. And this guy pretty much ruined it because his super heel run as a top guy it fizzled out before the match even started. It was Big Daddy Cool Diesel defending the WWE Championship against King Mabel. It didn't click with the fans that Mabel is all of a sudden now the top guy. At least they didn't do it right if that was the case. This to me would have been more Diesel versus Bulldog, because it made more sense with Bulldog when he turned on Diesel during that match on Monday Night Raw against Men on a Mission, as opposed to Mabel getting the King of the Ring and now going to SummerSlam and everybody's still not believing it and still not getting behind this match, which is where Diesel loses even more credibility because he's facing garbage.
And he still had that stupid purple and gold outfit with the MC Hammer pants.
Yeah, and the only thing he changed was his mohawk was black.
Right. They should have really re-gimmicked him.
Exactly.
If they were going to do it and did it right. I mean, Mabel just couldn't. He wasn't a good wrestler. He was just big, and Vince had his obsession with the big guys. So, and then it just
he didn't even have faith in him when they were Men on a Mission.
And he used to hurt. He used to hurt people too.
Yes,
they were going to fire him. Kevin Nash ends up saving his job sometime after this match because he hurt Nash and he hurt Undertaker later on. He breaks his fucking orbital bone. So.
Yes. That was the Mabel's next feud.
And Nash told Vince, "No, don't fire the guy. Don't fire him." But whatever. Anyway, terrible match. Terrible.
He winds up staying there for years.
Remember
Viscera, and then later on with ECW, he brings him back.
Yeah. So,
I mean, whatever he saw in the guy.
Yeah, this was crap.
I didn't see main eventer in him, and again,
no, I mean,
it would have made more sense for Bulldog to have this match, because then the whole "Where's Lex Luger" thing.
It wasn't a good match because Diesel's a big guy too. You need somebody to complement him. You can't have this.
What if they had him even facing Lex Luger? If Luger's not under contract, at least not as far as a handshake, he's there till that night. If this is his send off that Vince doesn't believe he's leaving, at least Diesel versus Luger would have made more sense than any of the matches we just mentioned.
I don't know, but
Luger shows up towards the end of the match and gets hit by Diesel because he doesn't know whose side Luger's on.
Right,
one of those things again.
That didn't make any sense. I wonder where the hell they were going with that.
I think Luger was supposed to be his next opponent. To be honest,
I guess but
we'll never know because he showed up on Nitro.
But what makes no sense? He comes in, Diesel whips Luger's ass, and then Luger just chases out Mabel. Not Mabel. I'm sorry, Mo.
Mo, yeah.
He chases out Mo. But
he gets his butt kicked and then chases the other dude out.
Right? What are you doing? Wouldn't you hit Diesel after Diesel just beat your ass?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know where they were going with that.
He just chased him out.
I really think that the storyline going forward was Luger to face Kevin Nash at the Next In Your House.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Which would have been a good match to see. I wouldn't have even minded again at SummerSlam to see that instead of Mabel.
Either way.
Either way, this kills the King of the Ring.
It was garbage.
People getting a title shot.
He couldn't jackknife him.
Doesn't get one next following year.
He couldn't jackknife him either because he was too big. He ends up beating him with a forearm off the top rope.
It was mishandled. The storyline poorly.
It's crap.
They couldn't build this guy up as big as they wanted to. It just wasn't going to work. That's why I don't agree with him becoming the King of the Ring. I mean, if you want to do this, you do it slowly. And if you want to make him a main eventer, then start the process. And then hopefully by the end of the year, then maybe he's facing Bret Hart for the title on a Raw Monday Night Raw. Whatever the case is, they did it too fast. The fans were not on board with this at all. And for that, the match stunk. And it was 9 minutes, 14 seconds. I mean, it wasn't even a double-digit match.
It felt longer than that.
Oh God, didn't they all?
But
I
all in
mean,
all,
the last three matches were way longer than these, and they weren't even the main event.
yeah, this is a bad pay-per-view. It's a bad.
It
It's one
really
of the worst.
was.
This is one of.
They tried. Don't no, not knocking the wrestlers themselves. They
No,
tried.
I'm not blaming the
It's
guys.
just
The booking was
the
bad.
ridiculous booking in
Yeah.
1995
This
that
is a
had my head
stinker.
scratching.
All of '95 was bad though. Really, when you think
Seriously
about it,
was.
the
They
whole
started picking up in 96.
right. This was the shits.
They weren't out of the woods yet, but in 96 it was improving.
Yeah. So
a little bit.
Yeah. So well, that's our SummerSlam '95 review.
We got through it.
Yeah. '96 is next.
Way better than this.
So you guys make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys.